In this video, we shall talk about the widget navigator of Flutter. In Flutter, a page or a screen is called a root, and the widget navigator manages the routes of an app. Using Navigator, we can load a new page or route, come back to the previous page. Basically, using Navigator, we can navigate between the pages of a Flutter app. We shall talk about two different approaches. One declarative and the other is imperative. In the imperative approach, we use the function push of the navigator, and in the declarative approach, we use the function pushNamed. We use named routes. So here I have created a demo project with two screens. In Flutter, pages 2 are represented by widgets. So I have created two widgets, page 1 and page 2. On page 1 we have a button to load page 2. So let's try the first option. We shall use the function push of the navigator. Navigator is actually a widget, a stateful widget. So it has an associated state class, and these functions pushNamed, pop, etc. are there inside the state class. So first of all, we have to get an instance of the navigator state of the appropriate navigator instance. We can get that by calling navigator.off and passing the context to this function. This will give us the state of the navigator. Now you may ask, where is the navigator? Have we created an instance of the navigator class? And the answer is no. We have not created the navigator ourselves. It is possible though, but in most of the cases you won't need to create the navigator yourself. A navigator instance is created inside the material app widget, and we can access its state anywhere inside the app by calling navigator.off and by passing the context. Now to load a page, to load our second page, page 2, we shall call the function push. We have a widget for the second page, right? But we cannot pass the widget directly to this function. This function needs an instance of the class root. So first, let's create an instance of the root using our widget. We shall create an instance of the class material page root, which is a subclass of the root class. And we are using this because it uses platform specific animations while transitioning to a new root. To the constructor of material page root, we have to pass a builder function, an implementation of the builder function. This function has a specific signature. It gets the context, so we have to add a parameter of type build context. And from this function, we have to return an instance of the widget with which we want to create the root. Now run the app and tap on this button, and we are on page 2. Now if you want to pass some data from page 1, then you can get the data through the constructor. So add the corresponding parameter, add a field and get the data inside the constructor. Then use it wherever you want. Let's print the value that we get from page 1 here. Now inside page 1, while creating the instance of page 2, pass the corresponding data. Now run the app and tap on this button, and here we can see that the data that we are passing from page 1 is getting printed here. The navigator keeps the routes in a stack. So when we call the function push or pushNamed, the new route is added to the top of the stack, and the route at the top of the stack is the one visible to the user at a particular moment. If you press the back button on the app bar or the back button of your device, the topmost route is popped or removed from the stack, making the previous route visible to the user. And if you want to go back to the previous page programmatically without using the back buttons of the app bar or the device, then you can call the function pop. So you have to call navigator.off, pass the context and call the function pop. It will remove the topmost route from the stack. So we have learned what is navigator and how to navigate in Flutter using navigator. We have learned to use the push function which is also called the imperative way of navigation. Now let us explore the other approach using named routes, using the function pushNamed, which is also called the declarative way. First, we have to define the routes of our app, and we have to do that while creating the instance of material app widget. So we are creating this inside the main.dart file, and here the constructor of the material app widget has parameters named initial route and routes. Using initial route, we have to specify the route that we want to load while launching our app. And using the parameter routes, we have to specify all the different routes. So here add the backslash as the initial route. So this is the name of the initial route. We are going to define which widget to load when the app is launched. So we have specified the name of the initial route, and now we are going to define the corresponding widget for this route. So initial route specifies the route that loads when we launch our app. Now we have to specify which widget to load on navigating to this route and the other routes, right? For that, we shall pass a map to this parameter routes. We shall add one entry corresponding to each route to this map. So add the route name, then add a colon, and then add the corresponding builder function. Remember, we used builder function while creating the instance of material page route, right? So we are going to use a similar builder function here as well. So this will have one parameter of build type context because it gets the context, and from this function we have to return the widget that we want to associate with this route. So for the backslash for the initial route, we shall return an instance of the widget page1, and for the second route, let's name it. For the second route, add page2 as the name of the route and then add the colon, and from the builder function return an instance of the widget page2. For now, let's remove the parameter from the constructor of the widget page2 and initialize this field message with a default string. Inside page1 to load page2, we shall call the function pushNamed this time because we are using named routes, right? Navigator.off, pass context and call pushNamed, and to this function pass the name of the route that we want to load. So in this case it is page2. Now run the app, and we have an error here. It says we cannot use the property home if we are already passing value for initial route. So in this case, as we are already using initial route, we cannot use the property home. So let's remove this home. The initial route itself represents the home page, right? Now reload the app, and now the error has gone, and tap on this button and page2 loads. So it is working. Now let us try to pass some data from the page1 to page2. So to pass data, we can use the parameter arguments of the pushNamed function. Pass the data to this parameter argument. I'm passing a string here. We can pass some other object as well. Now inside page2, we have to get this data from the corresponding route, and we can get the route by calling model route.off and passing the context. So this will give us the corresponding route, and then we can get the arguments from the field settings. So model route.off, pass context dot settings dot arguments, and now we have to cast it to the proper type. In this case, the argument we have passed is a string, so we are going to cast it to string, and we shall assign the result to this field. And as we are already using this field here in the, we are already displaying it on the screen, right? So let's run the app again. Tap on this button, and this time you can see the message which is being passed from page1. So we have learned to use the functions push and pushNamed to load a new route, right? And I have told you that these functions are there inside the Navigator state class. So first of all, we have to get the Navigator state, the corresponding Navigator state by calling navigator.off and passing the context, and then only we have called the function push and pushNamed, right? But you will find the equivalent functions inside the Navigator class as well. So you will find some static functions named push and pushNamed pop inside the Navigator class. So you can directly call navigator.push and pass the corresponding arguments, and it will work. You can also call navigator.pushNamed, and this will work similar to the way we have done with navigator.off and then calling pushNamed. So if you take a look at the implementation of the functions inside the Navigator class, you will find that inside this function, the implementations, this approach is being used. So inside it is getting the Navigator state and then calling the pushNamed itself. So I have shown you both the ways because you will find in different examples you will find using these two approaches. So in some examples you will find using the static functions of the Navigator class. In some other examples you will find the calling the functions of the Navigator state directly. So I have shown you both the ways so that it does not confuse you.